Research conducted during preparing action trails highlighted one topic that kept coming up as a thorn in the side of every adventure company: the cost of insurance. This was further compounded by the recent court conviction of $41.5 million for a trip organizer where a school student was bitten by a tick and contracted encephalitis, resulting in life-changing nerve damage. This just shows how important proper risk management can be in this niche. And as you might have guessed, in some cases, if you can demonstrate robust risk assessments and risk management, it can also positively affect your insurance premium, or negatively if you don't have the risk management. How do we demonstrate the robust risk management system? Well, one of the most obvious methods is designing the system in compliance with recognized standard and getting it certified. In this presentation and subsequent videos, we will look at how such system can be designed, and we will build our system based on ISO 21101, which is an internationally recognized standard. So, how do we start? We will need to plan the system. Think of what we are going to do and how. First, let's consider what in ISO is called the context. The circumstances in which you as an adventure company operate. This includes internal and external factors affecting your operation. For example, one of the obvious external ones will be the legal analysis. You need to look into the regulations and legislation in both the state in which you are registered and the state where you operate. Please keep in mind that there might be also international laws that you need to comply with. For example, EU regulations. There might be standards, codes of practices, etc. As a service provider, you need to have a process in place to identify changes in your legal obligations. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it needs to be there. We will look into contexts and other topics in much greater details in next videos. The next bit we also need to consider is interested parties. This includes all people and organizations we are dealing with during provision of particular activity. It includes both the people who can affect your organization and those who can be affected by it. When we have those basic bits, we can start doing proper planning, starting with the scope of the system. Scope will define what is included in your safety management system. You need to define what aspects of your company activities have impact on safety. You might be surprised at how much can actually affect it. We will dive deeper into the definition of scope later on. The next step is creation of safety management system and the safety policy. Safety policy document outlines the intentions and direction of your organization in regards to safety. The policy is established and signed by the top management. Once you have the policy, it's time to set your safety objectives and to plan how to achieve them. These are the specific things you are working towards, which allow you to focus on your resources and follow a plan you devise. Objectives need to be easily understandable, consistent with your policy, and be measurable. That's of course if practicable, and be documented as well. The next big thing is understanding the risks and opportunities. Basically, this is where we ask ourselves what could go wrong and what opportunities are there to make things even better. Please note that by risk and opportunities here, we understand those that relate to your SMS as a whole, not managing the activity risks. Those we will look into a bit later. The next bit is roles and responsibilities. This is considered so important that it's covered in the separate chapter of the standard. Both leaders and employees play significant roles in the SMS. Top management must demonstrate a strong commitment to safety by providing resources necessary to conduct safe operation. Also, to be effective, all activities required for safe operation need to be assigned to people For example, incident can be made worse if staff don't know who is responsible for what. Finally, in terms of planning, you need to document certain elements of your SMS and decide what records to maintain. The official documentation of your SMS needs to be accessible to staff, participants and other interested parties, whilst the records will allow you to manage operational risk and gauge how efficient your system is running, not to mention providing a legal defense, for example, a risk assessment together with briefing and training records, in case things don't go according to plan. Okay, so much for planning part. Let's have a look at how do we implement it in the real life. In this stage, we will be putting in place things we were considering previously. The first bit is the awareness. Your staff, including every person who does work under your organization's control, contractors, advisors, etc., all of them must know what their responsibilities in regards to safety, and it's your job as a leader to make sure it happens. We will go through the details of how to achieve it in the later videos. Closely associated with the awareness is the competence, which you can define as the ability to use their knowledge and skills to achieve results they are aiming for. And it's not only limited to the activity-specific competence. Also consider areas such as risk management, first aid, leadership, and communication. We will deep dive into competences in the later videos. Now, activity risk management. This is where you assess risks associated with particular activities, locations, seasons, context, transport and accommodation, fitness requirements, and many, many more. This is one of the main elements of robust safety management system and one of the most important ones, as it's predictive. With risk assessments, you are acting on hazards before they even materialize. In fact, it's so important that we will dedicate a separate video to the topic in which we will go through the theory and some examples so you have full picture. This module is where you can really save yourself some money and problems, if you do the risk management correctly, of course. Now, in the standard, the activity risk management sits in the planning section, but I've put it in the implementation as this is the practical application based on physical activity rather than dry planning. The next topic is also critically important: operational process plans and emergency response. This is where you specify how the particular activities are carried out. Processes require careful planning and being frequently reviewed to ensure that what you do is indeed the best and safest way of doing things. Processes are usually reviewed in conjunction with the risk assessments, training packages, incident stats and incident investigations, etc. This allows you to make the most informed decisions during review stage. The reviews should be periodic, but also need to happen following incidents, complaints, or hazard reports. Another associated aspect to consider is what to do when things don't go according to plan. Whom to contact, what actions to take. It's absolutely essential that you plan for the emergency situations, especially if you operate in the higher risk areas, and most adventure activity companies unfortunately do. Luckily for everyone, full emergencies don't happen often. However, incidents do happen from time to time, and by incidents we understand events that lead to accidents or have the potential to lead to accidents. Accidents, on the other hand, are defined as incidents that result in death, disease, injury, or other damage. So they are the most serious ones. In more general terms, incidents include accidents and near misses. Incident response, reporting and management is also one of the bases of efficient SMS. The one bit that is often overlooked is the communicating and consulting requirement. You not only need to communicate with customers, this is pretty straightforward, but also need to consider how to ensure your staff, contractors, and all the others are fully briefed on changes of circumstances, processes, plans, etc. The ISO standard also places the requirement for the consultation with staff. Again, please extend it to contractors, etc., as you need to include input from them in your safety reviews. The best practice is to periodically hold safety committee meetings with representatives from the staff. I know all of it sounds too complicated and challenging, but it really doesn't need to be. that complicated and can really help your business, even operationally. Okay, so we covered the implementation bit, but how do we know if we are doing well? How do we determine if we are improving or quite the contrary? This is where the measurement and benchmarking comes in. Please note that this point is partially outside of the scope of the ISO standard, but the common sense dictates that you need some tools to see how you are progressing. So the first set of metrics to use is the incident statistics. You need to record and retain information regarding your incidents and accidents, so why not put them to the good use? Incident stats can show you which areas are the most risky, and the investigations can point to causes and prevent them from happening again, reducing the cost to the business. The other important aspect is the spot checks. These will help you identify areas where people most frequently cut corners, areas which are not clearly defined in the process plans and could have been missed in training and communication. The next point is surveys. They are a great tool as provide you with the feedback seen through the eyes of your customers. There is usually no need to do a dedicated safety service, but you can add some safety relevant questions to the other ones, so you're really killing two birds with one stone. And last but not least, the audits. In essence, the audits are snapshots of your management system at any given moment in time. How it works is that the auditor checks if your SMS works as planned, if all components of the system are in place and working, and if they are in compliance with a standard. The key word here is standard. Audits are carried out against some form of standard. You can have internal audits where your staff or someone you contract checks if your company is operating as per your system's documentation, and external audits where your management system is compared against financial regulations, codes of practice, or the ISO standard. Those are called the certification audits, and if successfully passed, you are awarded a certificate of compliance, for example, compliance with ISO standard. Audits are important as they give you feedback to the management system's performance, not just safety performance. Audits will show you which processes work and which don't. Usually, if something untoward is observed during the audit, a formal finding is raised, which you will need to investigate and rectify. So the findings are not necessarily bad things either, but they are important feedback. Okay, the last major component is the management review. This is where you periodically look at your SMS and all the indicators, risk assessments, incidents, process plans, etc. to gauge if the system works as well as you would like it to, and to see what would you like to improve and how. This is frequently marginalized by management, but this process is extremely important as it shapes the future of your management system. And what organizations frequently realize is that similar management system can be used for much more than just safety. At the end of the day, this is how one of the biggest brands in the world earned its leadership position in the automotive market, Toyota. Now, you might have noticed that there are 4 major components in the SMS we just built. The plan, to implement, we will call it to do, to measure or to check, and to review, so to act. Together they form the continuous improvement process, also known as Deming loop or PDCA loop. If you follow that cycle over and over again, and your management system is functioning, the efficiency, safety, and quality of your operation will improve significantly. This system, the PDCA loop, has been proven to work in every industry you can imagine. It forms the basis of all quality management systems in the world, starting with ISO 9001, which I'm sure you've heard of. I'm sure that at the moment all of it seems like mission impossible and completely unrealistic, but please rest assured that the big part of it can be automated and simplified to the extent where it can work even for a one-man company, although deployment of the full SMS for one-man army might be a bit excessive. For example, you won't be able to audit yourself because auditor cannot audit his own work. So we will look into each component in much greater detail in the next parts, but we will focus on making them as easy and as practical as possible. Please remember that no one expects a small company to run very complicated safety management system. As always, I would greatly appreciate any feedback and will be more than happy to answer any questions, so please don't hesitate to comment. And if you have any specific question or would like to have a chat about the topic, please get in touch via Facebook, LinkedIn or email. Thanks for listening, and until the next time.